Revolutionary talk for revolutionary times. Promoting peace, liberty, and prosperity around the clock. LibertyTalk.fm.
Welcome to Living in the Solution with Dr. Elena George. Today we have a return guest, someone who I enjoyed having on last time. We spoke about a great many topics, and he has a wealth of information. And today we're going to speak with Mr. Greg Ciola. He's published a wide range of health information since 2000. He's written numerous books and was the publisher of a powerful cutting-edge health newsletter for 18 years called CRUSADOR. He's also been actively involved in the nutritional supplement industry most of his life. He's now the lead minister that founded Crossing Jordan Ministries that covers a wide range of health and biblical truth. And you can find his website at www.crossingjordan.com. And today we're going to speak about supplements and the supplement industry. I think one of the main things that I've learned during COVID, and actually before then when I had parents who were ill, was how important it is to feed the body and how the body is self-healing. And sometimes maybe something that's man-made is not the answer. So we want to speak today about supplements. And Mr. Ciola, I think you're the best person to speak on this because it's something that's in your wheelhouse. And I think you're coming at it from a position of knowledge. And I'm looking forward to our conversation today. So welcome.
Oh, welcome. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
It was an awesome show last time. You were just a breath of fresh air, and I took a lot of what you said to heart, and I'm sure my listeners did too. And today I wanted to speak about something else that you're well versed in, and that's our supplements and the supplement industry. So let's start off at the beginning. I mean, how did you come into the supplement industry and nutritional supplements in particular?
Surprisingly, I've been into it most of my life because my dad opened up a health food store in upstate New York back in the early 1970s. And it was the first health food store in that area. So as young kids, our whole family kind of got connected to the health food movement. And then from there, we got into sports supplements. And then in the year 2000, when I started this company, the big thing that led me into it was more from a health standpoint with a lot of things that were happening with the food supply. It was actually the end of the 1990s when I started studying and finding out all the stuff that was happening with genetically engineered foods. And I couldn't believe it. And I knew so many people, and everybody I talked to, nobody heard about it. Nobody knew about it. And it kind of led me to, wow, I need to write some kind of an educational book because I was following everything about it. And that led me into doing the newspaper. We called it CRUSADOR. And we did that for many years, almost 18 years. And throughout that process, that kind of expanded into doing a lot of other health issues beyond just the GMOs. I got into everything under the sun. I don't declare myself to be the expert. I tried to be. I'm a researcher for the most part. I'm an investigator. And what really made us different was that I did a lot of interviews with book authors, a lot of people that were well known in the industry. That's kind of what really helped me make that paper something important. And that was linking up with a lot of other people through that route. So that's kind of what did that. And then I also got into a lot of nutritional supplements as well from that. And that's kind of where we're at now.
Well, I want to talk about the different certifications and designations of supplements. I've heard of good manufacturer practice, pharmaceutical grade, and then stuff that you get over the counter where they say, they've vetted it pretty much. But are they all created equal? And do these stamps mean anything?
Yes, they do mean something. The big thing is that this nutritional industry is very, very regulated. I know maybe 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't to this level. And I know still to this day, the pharmaceutical companies and the government, the FDA and these guys, they all want to make it look like this industry is not regulated like a pharma company. The reality is the pharmaceutical companies own a big section of the nutritional supplement industry now. And there's a lot of standards that have been implemented that force everybody to be involved. Like you see the CGMP on a lot of the product labels. I don't really know any manufacturers that aren't following that anymore. These are all guidelines that the government's mandated. So the big thing is there's cheap products and there's good products. That's where it gets complicated. There's a lot of good products that work, and there's a lot of cheap products that are more for a label and don't really work as effectively. It's hard to distinguish what's what, though. I don't know that I can even give you all the answers on the phone because there's so many products on the market. It's hard to really figure all of them out. But that's hopefully answers your question at least a little bit.
Well, it does. I didn't really think it was that regulated. I know that there's been a real changeover where it's just like in the health food section, where a lot of the standard corporate companies have actually bought these different labels that you thought were independent. I didn't realize that it also expanded into the supplement market.
And even, one of the biggest health food chains in the country for a number of years was Whole Foods. And guess who owns them now?
Amazon, right.
So these companies have all been dominated by a lot of big firms. Sadly, that's where the whole country's going. I know that's a whole different topic, but that really is what's happening across the board. There aren't a lot of smaller companies left. They're still out there. There are still some good family companies that are involved in the supplement industry, but a lot of companies have been taken over and bought out by big pharma and big manufacturing companies worldwide.
So from what you described, it's very difficult to tell, but let's say you want to distinguish what you buy from a Whole Foods versus a mom and pop supplement store versus one of the pharmacy chains. Can you use that maybe as a something to demarcate or give yourself some way to say, I'm going to go a different level? Because it seems to me the supplements I wonder, actually, that's a good question maybe, the supplements that are brand name for the pharmacies, are those any good?
Some of them are. I don't know that they're bad. They're not all bad. There are some that are just cheap. The fact that they use some of these inexpensive ingredients, like let's take vitamins, for example. You have whole food vitamins that are naturally sourced, and you have a lot of synthetically made vitamins. A lot of people don't really understand all that. And so they just see a label and they say, oh, well, it's got, this vitamin in it or that vitamin in it. And until you really compare it or do your own research, I guess that's where it's gotten complicated in this industry. You got to really do your own research to understand who's got good things and who's got bad things. Minerals, that's a whole nother subject. I mean, they're so important for the human body, but there's good minerals that work effectively and get absorbed into the cells. And there's cheap minerals that are lower quality that are in a lot of products that don't work as effectively. So it's not that they don't work at all, but they don't work as effectively. There's a lot of misinformation on that front. And I don't know that even this interview is going to straighten it all out with people, but I could certainly try my best.
Well, that's exactly what the interview is going to be about. And I know we're going to take a break in a minute, but let's start off with one supplement, vitamin D, for example. You see it as vitamin D2 or vitamin D3, but you never really see it with vitamin K with it. Or, it's just a single supplement. Is that an example of something that if you take it, it may not be absorbed as well as you think?
Not necessarily. The vitamin K is something that they claim a lot of people are short on, and that it makes the vitamin D work better. But there's a lot of information just on the vitamin D3 that works phenomenal as well. In fact, everybody should pretty much be on vitamin D. It's one of the greatest products out there as far as protecting the immune system and strengthening your body's health with everything that is going on.
Oh, I totally
There's a whole
agree.
vitamin D organization that you can look up on the internet, and they've got every documented story, study that you could ever think of. I'm trying to think of the name of their website off the top of my head, but they're in all these health magazines. They're huge, and they've done all the research you can on vitamin D. So,
well, that's a good thing to actually look up. I know that studies have shown during our whole pandemic situation that people who had a vitamin D level of 30 and up, I think it's actually 50, that their risk of being hospitalized, intubated, and dying of COVID were really dropped dramatically. And I also know that your cancer risk of breast, colon, and prostate drop if you have a high normal level of vitamin D. So it's one of those vitamins that people really, if they take nothing else, I agree with you, that should be what they think of. Let's take our first break and come back. You're living in the solution. Welcome back to Living the Solution. We're speaking with Mr. Gregory Ciola. And before the break, we were starting to get into the different supplements that are necessary, vitamins specifically. I mean, vitamin D deficiency is one of the major ones. What are the other vitamins that people need to take? And then they should worry about whether they're, I mean, it's a two-part question, whether they're whole or whether they're synthetic. Which ones would you recommend? If you have to take the top, which ones should people be on?
It's hard to isolate it out when it comes to vitamins because they're so important. I actually wrote an article called The Dominoes of Disease, and I list 8 different things that are connected to a lot of diseases. A lot of things that have happened, it even kind of goes back to the GMOs and everything else. There's major shortages in people's health because of our food supply that's been tampered with across the board on every front. Refined processed foods, pasteurized foods, pesticides, chemical fertilizers, hydrogenated fats and trans fats, high fructose corn syrup, genetic or environmental toxins and cosmetic toxins, pharmaceutical medicine, which has a lot of side effects. These are all really kind of integrated into everything. It's hard to just say, take one vitamin. The vitamin D is so important, though, because of that international organization that has all of the information that you can find off of the website. I'll see if I can actually find the address while I'm doing this radio show with you to tell people where to go.
Okay.
But they can find it on a quick Google search as well. Vitamin D Council. They've got tremendous information.